right, let's get this party started. I'm going to share my screen and we'll take a look at CoinMarketCap, the overall market, and see what's really going on in the markets right now. So when we look at the overall crypto market, nothing's really happened. I mean, when you zoom out, and I talked about this in the Twitter space we had today, when you zoom out, you kind of recognize that nothing really happened this week. We're sitting at 30,200. I think we went up to 31K-ish, tried to break out, failed. The SEC crushed us with one of their announcements. And ultimately, over 7 days, we're barely down 0.5%. So it's not like we're in this horrifyingly bad position. It's not like we're in this overly great position. Kind of in the middle. When you look at the fear and greed index, I think we were sitting pretty much right here last week. Maybe it was at 60. So we're still pretty neutral. People are kind of starting to favor bullish. And then we start to get here and then we get absolutely euphoric. And grandma's like, how do I buy Pepe coin? That's when you know to get out of the markets. So right now we're kind of in this weird place. ETH is only down like 3%. Nothing is really getting wrecked. Solana is having a decent rally right now. Looks like Solana would be on my list of things to watch out for. It's really starting to step into a good zone to jump into. I think when I look at the rest, not a ton of other things. We have a lot of the DeFi dinos kind of pushing through, like the old school DeFi coins, like Uni's been doing well. We've had, let's see, ARB wants to start pushing. Aave is doing really well. Aave's holding quite well in where it's at. So when we look at those ones, they're doing pretty well. Outside of that, the other just weird stuff is pumping. So overall, the market isn't really amazing. Alts are still showing signs of life. Alts are still looking decent. When we look at the overall kind of market over here, let's check out the NASDAQ first and check out stocks. So when we look at stocks, we were rallying today. I mean, this morning I put in some calls and I took profits on them and I was like 20% up. And then I watched this thing just dump like 70%. Luckily, I took profits and got out. But when we look at the overall trend with stocks, we'll even look at the 4-hour. We've had a pretty good peak here. And then we bounced right off this support. Then we broke through, fell down. That's cleaner. And so right now, we're kind of like with the overall US stock market, it's been quite bullish. So every little dip gets sucked up and turns into a bigger rally. It could be a summer rally. I would imagine with where we're at right now, this is the first time we've kind of had a pretty big sticking point. So for me, stocks, maybe they push down a little bit more. I think NASDAQ pushes down. SPY is a pretty good one of the indexes I usually do calls on, but looks like it pushes down. We go down to like 436, see where we go from there. But because this is essentially like a little bit of a double top. So we'll see what happens here. But overall, the market has been really good on the stock side. So for me, I've kind of been over here more than crypto because stocks have been just ripping. It's been an incredible place. It's like you hit SPY one day, and then Apple's hitting all-time highs. Then Microsoft is coming up to hit its highs. Then all of a sudden Meta's rallying with the Threads app. By the way, if you're not following me on Threads, just go to Chandler_SAF on Threads and make sure you're following me on Twitter, which is twitter.com/Chandler SAF. Because then I post some of my calls and some of what I'm looking for on Twitter itself. Another thing to look at is when crypto wanted to rally today, crypto sort of mining stocks start rallying. So sometimes these perform better than Bitcoin itself. So we have a pretty good rally on Marathon. We have a pretty good rally happening on Riot. And when Bitcoin goes crazy, these go absolutely insane. So this is actually another like little hidden gem to get into when you're looking at sort of the crypto stuff is like Marathon, especially Riot's really good. Those two I like. So I think they're good moves when this market actually starts really rallying and moving. Outside of that, let's take a look at crypto. And if you guys have questions while I'm going through this stuff, just let me know and I'll answer them and go back and forth with y'all to make sure we get every question answered. Let's see if there's any so far. All right. Someone said, good morning. Well, good morning, sir. Welcome to the stream. There's 6 of you. Let me know if you're here. Just comment here down below if you're here and you can hear me and you can see my screen and everything. Okay. So anyway, let's get into crypto. Let's look at Bitcoin dominance to start. Bitcoin dominance has pretty much been in the same spot. You can see it had a pretty massive trend and now it's starting to taper down a little bit. I think we're capping out somewhere around like the 50% range. We hit 52. We can see alts starting to get strength. When alts get strength, Bitcoin dominance comes down. which usually means Bitcoin will go sideways and also start ripping. Right now, when I look at the overall sort of Bitcoin market, we're not really doing anything. And if you notice, and I talked about this on this Twitter space with dudes today, but if you notice, what'll happen typically is we will have a big monster rally, like we had this big monster rally, and then we went sideways from March until June, literally just 2 months of just boring, crippling, terrifyingly agonizing sideways movement. And so what happens in this period is we hit the rally and then everybody's all euphoric and on the high and they're like, it's going up forever. It'll never come down. And then it goes this way and they're like, oh, never mind. It's going down. Let's short. Oh, wait, nope, that's long. Oh, short. So and then they get completely just annihilated and wrecked. And so the problem with this is like, this is the chop zone. This is the zone for me to where I just pretty much stay out of the market. I'm not going to waste my time coming in here and trying to catch and YOLO short and long and pretend like I'm the most amazing trader in the world. Because mostly what happens here is people just get wrecked and lose their funds. And the goal of the market is to take as much liquidity out of your pocket as possible. And so for me, and just remember this stream, nothing here is financial advice. I'm just some guy talking on the internet. But my goal here is to essentially hit these and enjoy life and then just stop doing anything and just be patient here. And then when this presents itself, hit this, then stop, enjoy myself. Don't panic, don't worry, don't change my bias, zoom out, say, okay, if what is the market doing? Oh, look, we came through and oh, look, here's the rally, hit that. Okay. And now we just don't do anything again. So that's kind of the goal for me. And when you zoom out on the macro, on the 4 hour, even on the weekly, what happens to me is people get so wrapped up. Look at the weekly. We're still in this uptrending channel. Like, who cares what happens? As long as it keeps going this direction, eventually we're in a good spot. If it breaks this channel, then we start worrying. So like when I zoom out, and I don't know if be careful creating these diagonal lines, because if you create them wrong, then obviously you draw your wrong channel. So, but when I look at this, it's like, okay, what are we doing? Oh, well, we had a huge long. Then what happened? We went sideways across the channel. We dumped to the bottom of it. As soon as we hit the bottom, we pumped straight through. Next rally. Then what happened? We went sideways forever. Then we pumped. Now what's happening? Oh, we're going to go sideways forever. So it's just staying in this channel. As long as we stay in this channel, we're playing according to our thesis. And this 25,849 has acted like a pretty strong support zone. So I think as long as we stay above that, we're still in a pretty good zone with where we're at. We're at 30,500 right now. We could see this kind of just move sideways again. We could see it rally up and then move sideways, rally, move, and then have a big pump. But I think ultimately the top of this channel is somewhere around like between like 34 and 36-ish when we let's zoom out a little. So like when I look at the top of this channel, ultimately we top out somewhere around probably like 34, maybe even higher, 34, 36, 37-ish. Puts us in that zone, and then we push back down to like 33, 30 to ultimately see if we can hold and sustain that. But check it out. The other things I look at too is over the course of this week, the weekly still looks good. So we hit there. This was a pretty good dump back in June 12th. And we hit the weekly on the 50, and then that bounced back up, put us above this yellow line, which indicates that we're sort of in a bullish phase right now. And then now we're coming sideways. And as long as we don't have some catastrophic dump down to like 25K, I think this kind of just puts us in a sideways pattern right here. And then that sets us up for another breakout. So overall, long-term, I think we're in a pretty good spot from where Bitcoin is at. Heikin-Ashi candles look so much prettier. But if we look at these candles here, we're doing some similar stuff where it's just like, it's like pump sideways forever, pump sideways forever, pump sideways forever, probably push us out of the channel a little bit. Maybe we come down and we wick off 29.2. Maybe we go down 25. I doubt we go that low, but never say never. So we come here, maybe we come down, we wick out of this channel, hit the top of like this part, which seems to be good support, 28, and then push back up. So for me, it's like, don't change your bias until your thesis actually gets disproven. And so for me right now, the thesis is functioning quite well. Even when we look at this long-term macro trend line here that's supported Bitcoin since like 2019, it's like we hit it here, rally, hit it, rally, dump, hit it. This was a COVID crash. Rally, hit it, rally, hit it, rally, go into full-blown bull market. So same thing here. Look at this. It's come down, come down, come down, hit it, hit it again, rally, boom, boom. So even if we were hitting that would put us back down to like 20K, and then obviously it causes a rally, but that's kind of the big indicator of a bottom in like a good bull market. So when we look at this one, like the 16, 17K range, that was a pretty good zone. We hit that twice. And alts have a similar structure down there. So when we look at it, it's just bounce and drive. Similar story with like ETH. ETH has this long-term trend line, and every time it hits, it rallies. So ETH hit it back here at the 900 zone in 2022, rallied, came back up, hit it once, 1,097, hit it again, rallied. And now ETH's doing a similar thing. It's pretty much just moving sideways. One thing to look out for on ETH is we've been moving sideways here. What I anticipate on ETH is probably another push down. And then from that push down, that's going to allow us to test this 50 on the weekly. And then if we hold, that pushes us up to rally pretty strongly with ETH. So ETH could potentially be in a pretty good position when we look at the rally points from there. Let's check out the daily. And even from the daily, looking at ETH, what happened? We kind of pumped, we fell as Bitcoin was dying. We fell below the 50, but then now we're kind of turning around and coming back up. So if we pump through and we push through this, then we rally. The daily rally turns into the weekly. We can look at the weekly for what's happening. We can look at the 3-day, and all those points of confluence kind of turn into each other. That rallies, that pings off and rallies. So ETH, if it does rally back through this 50, it pushes to a pretty good position for a long. If it doesn't and falls through, then we have problems, because now we just lost the sort of the structure that we've been holding since January. That's been in at least a decent uptrend. So same thing happened here. We hit the 50, came down, rallied through, and that put us on a pretty good zone to hit that sort of local high. So same thing is happening here. Hit that, come back, boom, drive, hopefully. Looking at coins that are doing well, I mean, Solana was doing well. I drew out this structure of where I would like to start actually purchasing Solana and actually look at considering it a viable bet. But look at the same thing. If I haven't drawn its long-term trend, but when we come down, it's hit and then come down, hit sort of a double bounce, and then rally right into the top of the bull market support sort of line, got rejected off of that, rejected a million times, rejected, and then we hit, and now we're coming up to test this again. So if we cross that 23K mark, like entering at 18, it's a pretty good zone. Crossing that $23 mark is a pretty good. If we hit that and bounce, then Solana goes somewhere around, probably pushes us to at least 29. If we can drive off that 23.20 and bounce, then Solana goes boop to 29, 28, probably. And then that pushes us up into chop, which ultimately leads us to like 36, and then puts Solana back on a trajectory for being a pretty solid mover. Let's look at some other coins that are actually looking good. Like Aave, for example, I liked a lot because it's doing a similar thing. Aave here did the same thing over here. It hit, drove, hit, pushed all the way through this line that I drew. So it's sort of this like 71 to 73. And it pushed through it, got completely rejected and went sideways forever, and then came all the way back down and then rallied right back up. So now we're here. Aave clears 74. And then I think that sets Aave up to be a pretty good mover as well, because then it's clearing this entire structure. So Aave clears 74, we push back up to 83. We clear 83, we push back up to 90. We clear 90, we push back up to 107 and 115. And then that puts us on a trajectory for Aave to push back up to like the 200s. So when you zoom out, you can see that these little tiny rallies, we obviously have a long way to go. And so there's a lot that can happen. You look at a coin like Uni that's been performing fairly decently. It's doing a similar thing. It hits the bottom, it bounces, drives, gets rejected, pushes, rejected, push, rejected, comes back, hits that bottom, V-shaped recovery. Now we're here to challenge that again. So a lot of these are following the similar structure. Alts kind of move the same. I think Link is one of the worst performers in the history of the bull market. There could be probably nothing worse than Link, but it's doing the same thing. So it hits and then it gets rejected a million times. Link, as soon as it clears that, has a pretty good, maybe a clear path to like $9. So if you go through these charts and you just look at the weekly, you can kind of see what the pathway looks like. Like what happens if we reject? We come down here and then we push through because it's a good long zone. What happens if we clear? Oh, we drive up to the next nearest support or resistance zone that we have now. Like look at, everyone always wants to know about Pepe. Pepe, I don't know if I have enough data for the weekly. Let's check the daily. So Pepe is kind of a similar structure. Look what's happening. We hit a bottom and then we came up. We kind of re-hit it. We hit it a million times. And then Pepe drove through. Now Pepe's sideways, mooned, got rejected, and now it's going to do the same thing. So a lot of these are following a similar markets. Look at this on the daily. It's coming back up to test that 50, and it's starting to turn over. If it doesn't catastrophically collapse, then it'll push back up, and it should be in a bullish zone. When we look back up at like, where was Sol? Sol, same thing. Check it out on the daily. It got stuck a million times. Soon as it crossed that, moon candles until it stops. When we look at that on not the monthly, the weekly, it's just now crossing over. And as soon as a coin crosses over here on the weekly, it typically, and it sometimes it'll come back and confirm and then go. That's when God candles happen. So check it out. Like Maker did this. See, it crossed on the weekly. As soon as it had that bullish cross here, we went into like God candle mode, and then it just went nuts to the top of this line. Same thing with comp. It's like we started to cross here. We actually crossed here, and then we had this massive God candle, and now it's kind of consolidating a little bit, but check it out. Same thing. Hit the bottom, come up, test, reject, bottom, up, test, reject, bottom, up, test, reject, bottom, up, test, and rejects again, bottom. So it's pretty much how these alts are operating. It's pretty much how everything's operating across the board. And it's how Bitcoin's been working. Bitcoin was able to clear that zone. So it's like bottom, it's reject, miss, hit bottom, reject, come back down, push through, bounce off of it to test. Now that acts as support, drives us through. So that's kind of what we're looking for in terms of like the long-term implications of the market. None of it looks horrible. It looks like we're still pretty bullish. We're just sort of moving sideways. We maybe expect a little dump, but we're honestly still in this structure. We're still sideways. So right now is the time to enjoy the fruits of our labor from the one day that we longed here and the one day that we longed here. So we don't have to sit here and just cry and be sad with everyone else while they're getting chopped up over here. See if there's any questions. How do you view trading view in dark mode? Shit, I don't know. I have to figure it out again. It's somewhere in your settings. So somewhere in settings, it allows you to put on dark mode. I think it's up in here in this little button with all the notifications. Yeah, valuable info, bro. Yeah, thanks. Happy to help. Which tokens do I trade often? How many try? I'll do like, I mean, honestly, I don't trade that often in crypto when it goes sideways because you just get chopped up. So it's like, I'll hit this and then I don't do anything. And then I'll hit this, then I do zero. Then I hit this, then I'll do nothing. Then when we hit the next one, I'll hit that and then I'll just bounce out until we do something again. So it's like, look at this. We had January 9th. So it's like 2 weeks and then it's like 1 week. And then it's 1 week. So it's like out of all of these weeks, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks maybe that I'm actively trading. And inside that, it's only like really a couple of days. So that way I can maintain a high win rate. I can get trades that are getting pretty massive wins and I can go heavy into them and not have to worry about being in and out and just getting eaten up in this chop. But when Bitcoin starts getting into this bull market territory, when we get in this zone, and now that I see alts are heating up, what'll happen is Bitcoin will pump and then ETH will pump. So it's like one trade, then we can take the trade on ETH, then we can move to the big caps. We can take the trade on Sol. We can take the trade on some of these other things like Matic isn't ready. Definitely it hasn't been able to clear anything, but we can start taking the trades on the big caps too. So it's like hit Bitcoin, then hit ETH, then we can move and we can hit Sol, we can hit Matic, we can hit Aave, whatever else that we kind of want to hit and pay attention to. Big thing is don't hit too many things. It's like if you just want to be decent and have a good win rate, just do Bitcoin and ETH. You can literally just long Bitcoin, short ETH. And when ETH starts really heating up, just long ETH. It's going to have the potential to sort of beat Bitcoin out. So I think if you really want to be safe, just for me, it's just like hit ETH and it gives you the best opportunity, except in a down market because you have double the down, but you also have, if there's upside, you have double the loss. So you have to be careful longing and shorting and playing with alts when we're not in a good market. When we're in a good market, which we're on the verge of it, as soon as we get up here, like above this line, like the 34, 37, whatever zone, I think then it starts to get time to play with the alts, because then things start really heating up. Then we start seeing Sol and stuff go from $20, and all of a sudden Sol has a God candle and turbo pumps to 76. And then Sol comes back down, tests 45, and then turbo pumps back up to 176. So that's kind of when you can really hit the alts well. But for me, for the most part right now, it's just Bitcoin and ETH. That's all I'm playing with. Once this starts turning around, then I'll start shifting my bias and getting a little more playful with other stuff. So that's pretty much it for today. For me, for everybody watching, big thing is just don't panic. Just set your thesis, be comfortable with your thesis, know what's happening. Like, as long as we stay in these channels, I'm comfortable and I just don't care. And I'll catch it when we go up. If we have some catastrophic decline, which I've already set up and put the call in the dude's server so everyone knows, I'll hit that. But for the most part, none of this matters. The only thing that matters is that. And then none of this matters. The only thing that matters for me is that. So I can trade a couple of times, win, and have a good life. Same thing with stocks. When crypto's not doing well, I just move over here and I'm like, okay, let's do some calls or puts over here. Like, it's like call, nothing. I'm not going to trade that because we're in an up market. Call, nothing. Actually, I hit calls here because this was up, but then we hit this bottom. So now if it goes into a down market, I'm not going to do anything until we actually show a considerable downturn, and then I'll start doing puts. But I try not to beat the dynamic or the direction of the market itself. If it's moving up, I'm betting on it moving up. If it starts moving down, I'm betting on it moving down, but I'm not going to fight the current. So it's like a lot of up, then down, bet the down, then up, then bet the down, then just, that was the COVID crash. But for the most part, it's like it's mostly up. So unless that trend changes, I'm not going to go against the trend. Same thing with Bitcoin, same thing with the other coins. Cool. That's it. That's all I've got to say. If you like this broadcast and you're in the dude's server, make sure you go over there and let me know. Go in there and say the broadcast was fire. Tell me what your biggest takeaway was. If you have questions you want me to answer in the next stream, let me know, drop those, and I will talk to you all next time. Appreciate you. If you are watching this, make sure you like and subscribe as well. How do you time your entries before the pump? I just set up a thesis. So like if I'm on Bitcoin and I know that my entry, actually, let's go. This market's a disaster. This is where I kind of time my entries. But when we look at this one, I know that we're not going anywhere until we clear this local top. And I know that there's a good range. So if we can actually close above this zone, which we've been struggling to do, especially right here, that 31.95. I know if we can close above that, look how we haven't closed a single weekly candle. We can close a weekly candle above that. I know we're probably in a good zone to pump. Even if we close like a 4-hour candle above that, we haven't really been able to hold. And when I say I like it to close one, and I like to close the next one for confirmation. So it's dead. No. And then it's like close, no, dumps, comes back up, close, yep, nope, dumps. So 2 in a row is what I kind of look for. So still not getting there. So the second we get one closed up here, and then we get another one closed, and then we test and it closes above, and then we push, then I know we're probably in the zone to push. So that's probably where I would put my entry. So that's when I start paying attention. I pretty much just sit here, I click this button, I said add alert, and then it tells me and alerts me, and then I kind of just pay attention while it bounces around in here. And if it doesn't, then I just stop paying attention. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, short stream today. I have to go get a haircut, but it's been real. It's been fun. If you have questions for me for the next stream, feel free to throw them in the dude server or hit me up on Twitter. It's just Chandler SAF, and I will put them in queue and I'll answer them on the next stream. Whenever you jump on the streams, feel free to drop your questions and let me know what you're wondering, what you think, what you want, and I'll help you out. But that's it. I will talk to you all later.